Chapter 13 He Who Laughs Last. The words of Jessica Wolfer. One thing I've always been afraid of is falling. Now an even bigger fear for me is my dad falling. This fear is one that I'm often reminded of daily. Going up and down stairs, getting off a sidewalk, or even something like standing up. These are all things that typically people won't think twice about. But living with someone who is affected by ataxia, these are things that cause a status of high alert. They draw your attention from what you were doing to make sure everything is fine. Make sure no one is falling. Everyone is stable. My mother, my siblings, and I have all begun attuned to my father. And the situations that have a higher risk factor of imbalance than others, there are certain things that we have learned to do instinctively that are done for the purpose of trying to make things easier on my dad, almost like unspoken rules between us. For example, we all know that my dad always will have this aisle seat anywhere. That way, once the event is finished, he doesn't have to try and navigate through tiny walking spaces, or even grabbing as much of the groceries as possible, so he doesn't have very many bags to carry up the stairs. These are some of the little things that my family has grown accustomed to doing, in hopes of making my dad's fall rate go down. And now, Chapter 13. Over the course of my life, I have experienced an ample amount of opportunities to laugh at myself. The privilege on occasion even provided an opportunity for others to laugh along with me. I have always viewed this fact to be a huge bonus because I very much enjoy the feeling of bringing humor into someone else's day. I learned very early on in life that laughter did the opposite of dividing people. Humor brought them together. A good chuckle also seemed to ease any nervousness that I was feeling and helped to alleviate the air of tension or uncertainty. Laughter has always been one of the primary things that have helped me in times of struggle and self-doubt. It helps me to relax and to feel more at ease with the vast number of situations in which I may find myself. Take my years in school for an example. As a whole, I was not academically minded, please excuse that pun, and none of the subjects over my 14 plus year career as a student ended up being a favorite of mine. However, the mandatory studies became a lot more tolerable the moment that I discovered, pretty much on the first day of kindergarten, that I owned the ability to become the class clown. I adopted the role eagerly, and I immediately jumped in with both head first and feet first. A contradiction, I know, but I also enjoyed pretzels when I was younger. I just wanted to throw that resemblance in there for your consideration. Now, I was told that I had the gift for making other people laugh. If this was true, I have always wondered, does bestowing this gift on other people mean that I am essentially re-gifting? If I share a joke that someone else told me, does that person feel bad if they find out that I really told the joke? I mean, do they say to themselves, I picked out that joke especially for them, and I wouldn't even have told them in the first place if I had known that they were going to re-share it or re-gift it to other people. In a way, some of the things that I did for the sake of getting laughs when I was younger were almost prophetic. They seemed to point right at the future Jason and say, laugh now, funny boy, but you will have ataxia one day. And what you poke at fun now will very soon become your reality. The pantomimes that I performed in front of my third grade class come to mind as an example of this theory. I would go before the room and I would execute a 3 to 5 minute one-man routine, which is always an offshoot of the same central theme. I would portray an old man that was slowly sliding off a chair as he fell further and further into a deep slumber. Sometimes the little old man would slide almost completely off the chair before he woke up, and sometimes he wouldn't wake up until he hit the floor. But wake up he would, though, and when he did, it was with an exaggerated, very confused, and loud flourish. Well, my act never failed to produce copious amounts of laughter, and in a lot of ways, it was also an example of an audience-driven performance, because the popularity of the one-man skit wouldn't last forever, and I just figured that I would keep appearing as that little old man until the ratings tanked. But I had also mentioned that I thought my little third-grade pantomimes were prophetic. The belief has been based on the reality that it is now 43 years later, and I have a much closer resemblance to that little old man that I portrayed back in third grade. I also have a neurological disease that has now become the chair that I seem to keep sliding out of. And the condition of ataxia has become my exaggerated and flourished response whenever I hit the ground. Not if I hit the ground, but when. Being a clown at school was one thing, but the realities of home life with two older brothers brought situations and reactions to my attempts at humor that had a slightly different flavor. When one of my brothers wasn't trying his best to stuff his dirty socks into my less than enthusiastic mouth, or the other brother wasn't waving a sharp knife a hair's breadth from my face, they were both reminding me that I just was not funny. For some reason, I was never able to produce any laughter from my older siblings. Even after a highly successful 2-day engagement at a local establishment, which was an overnight stay at a friend's house where I had tried out some new material that had gone over very well. My brothers, however, were a very tough audience, who didn't appear to have any qualms about heckling, or turning their dislike for the performer, me, into a painfully physical objection. Being funny on demand is very tough, and it never came very easy for me, especially when one of my brothers would request it. Usually they would first read something that a classmate had written in one of my yearbooks, something along the lines of my humor, and then one or the other brother, because they were interchangeable where sibling torture was concerned, would then declare that they had never heard me say anything amusing, and that I needed to make them laugh within the next 2 seconds. Well, I either reached down deep within myself and pulled out a very poignant, or I said something that I can't remember, but which ended up costing me a significant amount of regret and personal pain. Well, through the years, I have been able to bring all the humor from my childhood forward into my adult years, and I've even managed to shape a healthy portion of it into sarcasm. In my current state of adulthood, which is the debatable subject I've been told, I have also established an open and very clear line of communication with myself. Sarcasm and self-talk go hand in hand, and I'm usually quite sarcastic with myself. It is one of the areas where my sarcasm is put to the best use. Included in those moments of irony with myself would be things like, "Wow, Jason, that was magnificent. Yes, most excellent indeed." This phrase would be said to myself immediately after I've fallen, for any vast number of reasons. Go ahead, pick a reason I've probably fallen because of it. Almost every time, though, it's because I've been trying to do something that I should have known better than to attempt. Sometimes there's a slight air of frustration mixed in with the sarcasm, as in, perfect. This statement is mixed happiness with myself. Would be said whenever I dropped something or was attempting to do a task for the 4th time. one that most 2-year-olds can seem to do the first time. Sometimes this is said with a smile on my face, so that occasionally I will even fool myself into wondering, was that really great? Are you serious? It was perfect? But I do try to maintain a good sense of humor. It's been a lot of my days finding the humor in most of my situations. No, it's not always easy, but as they say, laughter is the best medicine. If that's true, I just hope that some of the pharmaceutical companies don't find out about it. I mean, if they hear that laughter is truly the best medicine, then I'm afraid they might try to patent it, put it into a pill form, and try to sell it to us at astronomically high prices. Most insurances, and I'm for sure Medicare, wouldn't cover it either because laughter would most likely be viewed as a life choice and one that is not only needed recreationally. Either it would be one of these, or they will refuse to pay for laughter because it is deemed as a pre-existing condition. In an effort made by these corporations to maximize their profits, I'm sure that the laughter available to us would not even be sold in its pure form. Most likely it would be about 15% pure, raw, and uncut humor that was mixed with various other fillers, some of which would cause some pretty horrendous side effects like uncontrollable bodily noises. And I, for one, do not need help in that department from a pill. I feel that maintaining the ability to laugh at myself, even in the light of a neurological disease, helps me to stay in control. My SCA might be able to dictate how a situation may go or how I may react initially, but it cannot and it will not influence my overall outlook or attitude. I think that in the light of my ataxia, humor's biggest encouragement to me is the knowledge that it will always be there to provide me with the last laugh. Not my SCA, but for me.